Hi, and welcome everyone to the End of Life Journey and Beyond the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I am a bereavement specialist. And hi, Susan. Always good to see you.
Hi, welcome, Lisa. Great to see you as well. I'm Susan Capurso. I'm an end-of-life doula and legacy specialist. And today we have a very special guest. And Lisa will introduce our very special guest today.
I am really privileged to introduce and have a guest, Wendy. I met Wendy at a workshop, and we ended up talking about other things besides career work. And this fits in with everything that we do. Wendy has a very strong and very somewhat tragic story to share. We believe that it will help others who may have the same situation. And so we appreciate the fact that she's here to share information with us and feelings with us. And we hope that it helps, especially during the holidays. We obviously find that the holidays are a very difficult time when we're missing our loved ones and all. So, Wendy, thank you so much for being here. Why
You're
don't you
welcome, both Lisa and Susan. You're both, thank you for the invitation.
Sure.
Yes,
Welcome, Wendy.
So,
thank
Wendy,
you.
why don't you start us out and tell us a little bit about your story? Okay. Let's start from scratch.
So I'll start from scratch. My entire world changed on
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention.
August
Yep.
11th, 2017. I would say, yes, August 11, 2017. Why I say August 11, 2017? Because unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that that would have been the last day that I saw my beloved daughter, my only daughter, our only daughter. She really died on August 12th of 2017, but of course, the last day. So I'll tell you a little snippet about my last day in seeing her. I was an extraordinary secretary. I know self-praise is no recommendation, but I really was. I just retired, by the way. My last day on the job was July 5th of 2023. So I'm a new retiree, but I don't put the word retiree. I said, it's a new dimension. It's a new paradigm shift. I've resettled. It's a reset for life. So I worked at this elementary school within my district, and the principal had me take half a day. I chose half a day for the attendance to bond with my niece. I'm so grateful for that half a day. Guess why? When I came home, it was just enough time for my daughter to go to her job at Glen Cove Hospital in Long Island, New York. And I'm grateful only because I heard last words in my ears whispered, please don't forget to floss. She was so fastidious about teeth that she would annoy me, my breath, my teeth. But I loved everything about this beautiful girl, this beautiful young woman. Not more than God, of course, our manufacturer slash creator, whatever you want to call who created the universe, etc. So I'm grateful. And I heard Lisa and Susan, when I looked at some of the videos, mention gratitude and thankfulness, etc. I said, yes, these are two women that I could work with. Beautiful. And we're sitting on the couch in this living room. And I just came back from Cheesecake Factory. And she comes over to me and whispers in my ear and kissed me and said, remember to floss. And I held on to those beautiful words. It may seem like it's not beautiful, but it is to me. And off she goes. And that's the only day that she never called me on the job, meaning in the morning. I guess she allowed me just to have the half a day and then go and build a relationship with my niece. So that was Friday, August 12th of 2017. At approximately between 1 a.m. and 2:15 in the morning, approximate, I heard this knock on the door, blam, 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 blam. And I had fell asleep on the edge of my bed. But my husband never went to sleep until his beloved Janelle came home. But I fell asleep as a mom, tired, still working on the job. And that's when my entire world, our entire world, fell apart. But of course, I've always been a positive person, not perfect. I'm not exuding that I was this perfect person. but I was always kind of like a little butterfly, like Susan. That's one of her keywords, and I loved it. I'm like, wow, she even uses as one of my key, whatever you want to call a butterfly. And that's where the story began. So it was Janelle's friend. It was three friends, Janelle and the two other friends. The one person that died, name is Melissa. And it's okay for me to call Melissa's name, I'm sure. And the third friend, so it was like three peas in a pod. These three peas in a pod, Melissa and Janelle knew each other from since kindergarten. But the third friend, I believe during, not elementary, but during middle school and high school, bonded with Melissa and Janelle. So it was three peas in a pod, etc., etc. We lived in Uniondale, and the other family lived not even a mile away, maybe a mile away from where we lived. And our whole world fell apart. I used to love to watch a crime show, SUV Crime Victims. Well, I couldn't watch that crime show for after a long time because we were a part of a crime show now with the tapes all. So we went to the spot. I changed some of my clothes, put on different clothes and ran. The friend said when she knocked on the door, I can't remember who opened the door, whether it was myself or my husband, but she was, I think something happened to Janelle and Melissa and the Melissa's mother. So what occurred? Stop me if you can, if I'm not clear. What occurred, Susan and Lisa, was through mental disease, Melissa's brother was no longer part of the home. Melissa was a physician assistant. So Janelle came straight from work, my daughter, came straight from work to go visit Melissa. And then the second friend came because Melissa was getting ready to do Doctors Without Borders. So my Janelle came, this is the night time, leaving from her job, the Friday, to go visit Melissa because she was going to do Doctors Without Borders for a couple of months. So the two friends came by to get, do their little goodbyes and relax. And Janelle had to go to work the next morning. So she changed her shift. So of course she didn't want to stay out all night. She would just go say her goodbyes. You know how young girls are, they probably have the music up loud upstairs. Melissa's mom was downstairs and her brother broke through. This is a story that I heard from so it's a mass murder. Janelle was murdered. Melissa was murdered. And Melissa's mother and a fourth person got away to tell me especially of some of the bloodshed. So this is called a mass murder because it's more than one or two victims. So through mental disease, and it was documented, a man who was not a stranger to us, because when I had cancer, that was the household that Janelle stayed at. Remember I said, this family was a part of my family and our family from since Janelle was in kindergarten. So the young man, through mental disease as documented, bludgeoned his mother first downstairs, went upstairs, bludgeoned his sister, and knocked down the bathroom door and bludgeoned 5 feet, all 5 feet of Janelle. And a fourth person got away to tell of some of the bloodshed. But I couldn't really digest what the young lady was sharing with me after she got a little better because of what I was going through, the pain, just the pain. I'm smiling because I'll tell you why I'm smiling. Memories last forever, especially good memories, even when people leave. That's why the people in the neighborhood didn't quite understand the grieving mother, because I would encourage others. We got such a hug from the Uniondale and the other neighboring communities and far and wide that went on for months and months. People really loved us. But I also want to mention the family that lost 3 people. They lost a mother, they lost a daughter, they lost a niece, meaning all the different acronyms. So even though I'm concentrating on the Simpson household, Wendy Simpson and her family, we lost 1. They lost 3 people because they lost the mother, they lost the daughter, and of course the young man was sent away, first to a forensic hospital because it was documented. The mental disease was documented. And guess what I did that freed me? I forgave him. And that's what has freed me, like Susan butterflies. It has freed me to go on, not to forget my daughter or to forget that someone bludgeoned the baby that I gave birth to in 1988 on a Saturday morning. I had two boys, they're men, they were 21 months apart. So when my beautiful chocolate princess came into this world, I had two boys. They were 9 and 11, meaning 11 years and 9 years older than Janelle. I didn't idolize her or worship her, but guess what? We had an excellent relationship. I traveled all over with Janelle, sometimes on a shoestring budget. So she would try to be my boss. But just before she died, I said, Janelle, you're not the boss of me. She put her hands below her chin and said, actually, I am. So this girl was my technologist, my everything. She'd see my expressions and she'd be like, what's wrong, mom? So I'd say to her, nothing. Before the end of the day, she would be like with her little shorts up, I knew it. I knew it. She was like my protector, my everything. Not better than our manufacturer slash creator, really not better. But I really loved her. That was one of the greatest love that I've ever experienced on earth. Sorry that I have to express it that way, but it really was one of the greatest love. And a few days ago, I was saying, why am I so sad? Just for a moment. It's like my pity party just lasted for a moment. And I realized it's because I miss her. I miss the flesh. Yes, I have loads of memories and loads of pictures. And we travel together, Jamaica, West Indies on a shoestring budget. We're paying the tips in the Jamaican local dollars and didn't realize that we were insulting the folks. They didn't let us know by any facial expression or anything. It's after the fact. And who set up the trip? My beloved Janelle. We've been to the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. We've been to Atlantic City. We've been, all my extracurricular activities were Janelle.
Wendy, just help us
Everything
understand.
that I've experienced extracurricularly. Yes.
Wendy, can you help us understand how you and your family coped with such a horrible tragedy? How did you
Well,
cope?
after a month, my middle child, the one that was 9 years apart from Janelle, so he's closer in age to her, sat in the living room chair and said, I want my mother back. And at that time, I didn't quite understand.
Mm.
He meant, the grieving process and stuff like that was overwhelming to him. I guess I don't know what I was doing that he didn't. And then I realized I have to get out of it. But my husband would not have, does not speak the way I speak, meaning share, to encourage. He's like, Wendy, I tell nobody about this. He goes to the cemetery. I don't. I visit when I can, and I do a kind of drive by. I'm like, I make a joke about it. I'm like, why did you have to go and get yourself murdered? And I just, put a kiss on the beautiful picture that we put on the headstone. And my eldest son, who's 11 years older than her, they visit. My other extended families goes, meaning my son, because my other siblings and relatives, some are in Trinidad, some are in England, some are in New Jersey, Philadelphia. They don't ever visit, never. Maybe the first year we gathered together, the both sets of family, the people that lost two people and myself and family, we gathered for that 1 year. And that 1 year, the skies opened up while we were visiting in the cemetery, and everyone went their way. But as far as the question to do with coping, I'm in the forefront because I realized people are not going to be around me if I'm sad all the time.
Mm.
Some people waited a whole year. One lady said to me, I didn't know how to approach you. I said, it's fine. I love talking about my Janelle. And I really do. I really, really do.
Yeah.
I'm able to
Yeah.
encourage people, Susan, to let them know that I love talking about her because she brought me such joy from the moment I realized that I had a girl. We never even painted the room because we came here when she was 8 months in my belly. We painted the room blue because in 1987, 88, we didn't really do any tests to find out if it's male or female. We had two boys. Of course, I hoped for a girl, but so
I have two
my,
things, Wendy, if I can
sure, go ahead.
interrupt you.
No,
Okay,
do
so the first is
it. I want you to interrupt me. Yes.
we were going to mention at the beginning that we do
Yes.
know that you're having some technical issues. So you have been in and out every couple of minutes, and I just want to let the audience know, we apologize for that, but it's a given. It's just there, and we're dealing with this today. So I hope you
Yes.
can too. The
Yes.
second thing is, I just have to say, I haven't met you before. Well, Lisa knows you, but the one of the first things you said when we met at the beginning of the video just now, you said, and I don't know why I would be a good fit to come on and do this video. And I got to tell you how wrong you are.
Mhm.
You are simply amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. Your spirit, your heart is so much bigger than you know. And this, I don't mean to bring religion into it, but do you have a faith? Do
Mm.
you believe in God? Is spirituality part of who you are? Can I ask you that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the nail. But I'm not so heavenly bound that I'm no earthly good. I meet people where they are. But
Very
what
good.
brought me through, I'm glad you asked that question, Susan. I'm glad Susan asked that question about faith. I call myself faith-filled Wendy. Susan's an excellent interviewer. Lisa, you are too, but Susan hit the nail on the head. Prior to the loss of Janelle, meaning the loss of her flesh, I thought I was a religious freak, meaning I'd listen to gospel music, 10 different versions of Bibles, all kinds of spiritual books, not one track minded, but that's what enabled me to sustain what happened. So
Mhm.
the faith, the faith ingredient to me, for me, is that if you're baking a cake, Lisa and Susan and the audience and whomever could get encouragement from this video, if you're baking a cake or no bread and you leave the yeast out, it wouldn't rise. So my faith is what took me through this. I remember going to church because of obligation. The church that we chose couldn't sustain the crowd because the boys were 11 and 9 years older than Janelle. Janelle, at her death, was 29. Melissa was also 29. Melissa's funeral was a week before our funeral, and Janelle's was the next week. So henceforth, we had to change the venue because of the large outpouring. My two boys, friends supported, family supported. The people who lost the two people, they supported, so the venue needed to be larger. But I'm telling you, my faith is what helps me cope until now. And I could encourage people in 2 minutes flat. I would say, I'm about to tell you a story, but please do not pity me because pity does not empower. I said, I want to
Right.
encourage you to tell you that if you're on the job and your coworker does anything or say anything, let it off. I want you to forgive them. Forgiveness isn't for everyone. When I forgave the young man, it was from the heart. And if you Google the city close to Uniondale, killing of 3 women, you'll see that I'm not telling any untruth. I forgave him instantly, and it's
Mm.
recorded. They put that it was my husband and wife, but not me. My family told me, Mom, you're crazy to forgive. That's for you. That's on you. We have not forgiven.
Mhm.
I stand on the ground of forgiveness because mental disease is real. To have killed
Yeah,
your mother,
yeah,
Yeah.
your sister,
absolutely.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
the sister's best friend, and you try to kill a fourth
Yeah.
person, that's mental disease. So
It
I
is.
forgive the young man. And I also said something that my father was upset over, and my sons, when I shared it with them, were very upset. But I wouldn't do it alone. That wherever the young man is, he was 35 years old. Now it's fast forward 6 years this past August. I said that what I'll do is visit him, but with my pastor, not alone. because there's a boundary too around myself. I wouldn't want to,
Good idea.
be too upset, and I have to be coached to do it. And yes, yes.
Yeah.
So the first year was very hard, Susan. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Just really an observation. One about forgiveness. Things happen. We're human beings, okay, and we're meant to have these challenges in life, and we to learn from them and grow and to become better people. And there was a challenge that happened in my childhood, and I forgave very early on, I think, and it was hard to do, but I did. I remember the day I was out walking, the sun was shining on my face, and when I just forgave and told God that that's it, from this moment on, I've forgiven him and it's okay. From that moment on, it lifted. You're not forgiving for the other person, but what happens in turn is you live a more grateful and thankful life, and that person who can forgive lives a more angry life all along the way. And maybe that's their path and they have to learn on their own time. But it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that you were able to forgive, because I have to tell you, of all the things that we talk about, that Lisa and I have learned about, end of life and thereafter, this has to be the hardest forgiveness to give. And you've done it so brilliantly.
True
And
forgiveness.
go ahead.
Mm.
It's true forgiveness, because that big thing that I could forgive, I'm holding on to a father who doesn't love me, even though he just turned 86 4 years ago. I mean, 4 days ago. And I wrestle with it because I still want the love of a father. I'm
Of
married. I have
course.
5 grandchildren, uh, 2 sons that are married. That's who gave me the 5 grandchildren. I have aunts and nieces and nephews, and you could name it, extended family that are beautiful to me when I travel. But that father thing, and I've learned that if you could forgive that brutality of your only daughter who was born 9 years after your last child, why am I struggling? So yesterday, I gave it up. I cried. I spoke to Lisa just before you came on, that I've stopped wrestling with it. I do my best for him, and I'll just let the universe guide the rest.
That's
Because
right.
I don't want to get sick. I'm a cancer survivor, so I don't want that to revisit myself. I don't want that. I want to be whole and healthy despite it all, despite the loss of not the loss of her forever being in my heart, but the loss of the flesh being.
Yep.
She would advise me how to spend my money. She was very spendthrift. She was very frugal. And I
Mhm.
would make a joke about, I would call her cheap, but she was very frugal. And she would teach me about money management. And when she died, I had a little retail therapy, even till now. But I've retired, so I have to be careful of how I. So even though I'm encouraging folks, I'm not saying that it's easy every day. My tears are not the same intensity as to when Janelle first died. And the people who lost the 2 family members from August 2017 and thereafter till now, every Mother's Day, Janelle's birthday, Christmas time, you see bouquets of flowers coming to my home, and they replicate the same on the graveside. So I'm thankful for that. My husband doesn't really pay attention to that, but I said to them one time, one of the family members, I named them by name. I said, "You realize that I don't reciprocate?" They said, That's not what it's about." Because I haven't gotten to theirs yet. I would say I'm still a grieving mother. I'm not mourning the same way. The tears don't
Right.
come intensified as it did when it first happened, Elisa and Susan, and the audience that are listening. But I want to encourage you, especially during these holidays, that
Yeah.
Lisa had said to me, create some memories, yeah. And that was good advice. Like the
Wendy, let's
first
let's
year,
talk
I
about
would,
let's talk
okay,
about that. Let's talk
yeah.
about how you still celebrate her and keep her with you and what you can do, because people need to be helped with this. It's not easy.
So
So
the
what?
first year, because of her frugality, I would cook lunches for her. And sometimes it would be simple lunches, like basmati rice and lentils. I can cook lentils with my eyes closed. I'm that good with it. And one time I had to ask her, this is a true story, just before she died. I said, Janelle, why are you so grateful? It used to annoy me. I don't know why. It used to annoy me that Janelle would be thanking me for every little thing. And for this particular day, it was in reference to the lentils and rice that I gave her for lunch. And when she never came home, I froze it, meaning that when I came home from Cheesecake Factory on August 11 of 2017, it was half a day. So I fixed the lunch ahead of time for her to take to work early the next morning. She reversed her shift.
Mm.
And because she was never able to retrieve that lunch, I froze it for a couple of months. And then after I got rid of her. But my daughter was one of the most grateful person that I've ever known and that I've ever encountered. She would be grateful for every little thing. So the first year celebration, I cooked lentils and rice, and I heard Lisa and Susan said something in one of their videos. It doesn't have to be a large crowd, and mine wasn't, because when the heavens opened up, that family went their way, which they planned, and I came home with my celebrants and what I fixed. And that was in memory of Janelle, the lentils and rice, because she loved my lentils and rice. She would just spike it with a little bit of salt, you know, that's what she told me. She said, Mom, I would just put a little bit of salt in it when I ate it. So I said to her, Janelle, why are you so grateful, even for lentils and rice? She says, Mom, number one, I don't have to buy it. Her frugality kicked in. And number two, it's a free lunch. So that's one of the memories I had of her. Also, we traveled on a shoestring budget all the time because one of her mantras were, even if you make a little bit of money, cut a little bit out, put it aside, and do a little bit of entertainment. She would take myself, her, my eldest, my only grandson, who is my first grandchild, his sister. So it would be four of us to, like, I'll say, Wet and Wild. And we would fill up the trunk with chairs to sit on, sandwiches, and guess what? The only thing Janelle would buy for those two children, a box of popcorn, because we didn't have the funds. And she would borrow someone's Easy Pass and pay and have me pay for the Easy Pass after. She was just my all in all. So people, person, whether it be a daughter that you lost, whether it be a mom, an aunt, a relative, forgiveness isn't for everyone, but conjure up those memories. Conjure up those good memories, because memories don't go like people do. Forgiveness may not be for everyone, but it has freed me to live a good life. I would say a great life. It sounds like I'm boasting. It sounds like I'm taking her death for granted. But this is what I had to tell Lisa, that she blew my mind when I listened to one of Lisa's and Susan's video. And Lisa ended it with, when Susan said, can you give your last piece? That wasn't Susan's exact words. When Lisa said, life is for the living, I said, yes, we'll be working together. That's what I ended up in one of the local newspaper. There's a radio station called WRHU, Hofstra's
Yes. Yes.
newspaper. There's a radio announcer who does recordings. And that's what I ended up with my interview, and said, life is for the living. But my husband didn't like that. I didn't mean it the way he took it. It wasn't disrespectful. I wasn't going to crawl in my bed because my daughter was murdered and two other people was murdered. One person has gotten, you know, a sentence, a rough sentence, 50 years in prison. So the people lost, three people, I lost one. I wasn't going to ball up. I want to tell the whole world that life moves, life goes on. I want to tell the whole world that I can. All the continents, that even though you may know, those memories will stay forever.
Hmm. You're singing our song, Wendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I don't know why my mind was going towards this while you were just speaking, but I I felt like, boy, how amazing it would be for you to write a book about your journey and, to speak about your daughter and talk about her growing up and the person who she was and how incredible she was and then talk about, of course, what happened, but how you've come to live with, you know, the situation and the challenge and how other people can too. That's just an amazing story.
It is. And I agree that it is. Only because how did you know, Lisa? I mean, Susan, that I had my book title from before I started. I did get counseling, by the way, which was taboo for the
Mhm.
Caribbean culture. I had people come in. It wasn't shiva that we were sitting, but they would come in to comfort. And I had one person of Caribbean heritage walked into the room with the chairs that was set up and said, point blank, out loud, that counseling didn't help me. So even if it didn't help you, you're not to share that. I still need counseling right now. Sorry to say, but I do,
Of course.
because I pour out a lot and I have to put back in. And I'm saying this to say that at the counselor's chair, the very first session or one or two sessions that I had, I had picked out the name of the book, which I might change. The name of the book was The Ministry of a Grieving Mother. Why I
Mm.
put ministry in there is it's not at a pulpit that stands still and you're preaching and teaching. It was a pulpit that goes everywhere with me. Because
Mm,
when I heard about a mother get across the street where the three people was murdered and the one beautiful young lady for her to move on with her life and be married with children because I wouldn't know how to cope with seeing all that brutality. So I want the best for this young lady. We want the best for this young lady. Right across the street, another mother. This house was at 125. That house was at 126. A mother lost her pregnant daughter to murder. Not at the
Oh,
house, not at that house. I ran to that house during my lunchtime with my pastor to comfort the mother. I comforted another mother in a neighboring county when the daughter died of a car accident, and on and on and on. So I know it's a ministry. I know it's a pulpit that has
wow.
to be portable. That's what I meant. So I have to fine tune the name of my book. I have little pieces of papers that that I that I carry around. Like I took notes from you and Lisa this morning, from Lisa and Susan from some of the videos. So even though I may be encouraging people, you and Susan, Lisa encouraged me so much. So it's a reciprocity of encouragement. My husband says, Wendy, our story won't be the first and it won't be the last.
It
But I
won't.
know my
And
story.
he's absolutely right. But you have your story here and
You
your
will.
journey too. And
Yes.
you're talking about a topic that not many people want to talk about, but you're talking about the circle of life. It's the circle of life, and we're only here on this wonderful planet in this universe for such a short amount of time. We really are. When I think of that, my husband passed 9 years ago. We were married 25 years, and I think about him every day, all day, even though it's been 9 years now. But I've also feel like because of my faith and spirituality, I feel that this was his journey. This was supposed to happen when he came into the world. This was supposed to happen. God knew his end date. And I don't know if you particularly think that, but that's just how I feel. But then going back to the way that you grieve every day, I thought about this too. Your daughter, Janelle, would be so proud of you. She would be so proud of her mother right now, today, speaking here, living the life that you're living, running down the road, help hugging that other woman, going to
Mhm.
another county to hug that woman. And maybe that's something you're going to continue to do. And oh my gosh, I'd want to be hugged by you, because you have that aura about you. You have that sense of not just having walked in their shoes, because we've all walked in other people's shoes, but you have that that em empathy and love and real
Gotcha.
caring that you just want to hold them and hold them up right now. And maybe it's just going to be giving them a few words of wisdom like you are here and sitting for an hour or two and speaking with them. Maybe that's what you were meant to do in your world, through this experience. And that's a way of celebrating, Janelle. That would be a way of celebrating her, but she's so proud of you. I'll tell you that much.
I also want to speak about
So
faith.
sometimes I ask, why little me? Yes.
Sorry.
I ask, why would God have chosen me at 4 feet 11? Because this is huge. Like Susan just said, the circle of life. I like how Susan phrased it because it is. I thought it's unnatural for a mother to bury her daughter. I thought it's like a 25-year marriage for Susan, and it's 9 years, and she knows what I feel like. People just put the date of 9 years and 6 years, and for Lisa's husband of many years as well. But for Susan and I, and for Lisa, and Lisa, Wendy, and Susan, the world put the years, but for us, it's like yesterday. And one thing that
Yes.
Susan just cleared up for me, and I have to mention it, Susan, that I didn't accept it, but I just accepted it. I didn't accept when my husband says it was destiny. Thank you for freeing me, even amidst my tears. Because I didn't like when he said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you for
You don't
saying
want
that
to
that
hear
was your
that from
journey.
somebody
That was your
else.
husband's.
Wendy, you don't want to
So,
hear that from somebody else. You want to come to that fruition yourself. You want to blossom yourself and you want to know that deep in your heart yourself. For other people to say that to you, especially in the last few years, it's easier for other people to say, but you need to come to that yourself.
one more thing before Lisa says, um,
Mm.
I didn't want to hear that the beautiful chocolate baby girl that I birthed, and it was more painful than the boys. The boys were only 21 months apart. I didn't want to hear that it was her destiny to be bludgeoned. Remember, there's a death certificate and there's an autopsy report. I didn't know that. I made up a stupid song at the funeral parlor. I didn't know that you have to buy her a dress, and it was a perfect song. I didn't know you have to buy her a dress. I didn't know you have to pick out a coffin. So, folks, you do have to go through that. And it's shocking, but you have people around you that will help you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add a few things. One is, I think I shared with Wendy that my biological mother, who was 26 years old, was killed in Uniondale. I grew up in Uniondale, so Wendy and I share this together. And so she was killed, not by a drunk driver or anything like that. It was a rainy day and she didn't look both ways, and it was her fault. And she was pregnant with my brother's sister, and I was only two, but her mother was there when it happened, which I can't even imagine what that was like. Um, and she was an only child. So the tragedy again, of losing, she never forgave that, and he was from the Mitchellfield base. She never forgave him. He was not convicted of anything. It was not his fault. It was an accident. That's what it was. It was an accident. He could not slow down. It was rainy and etc. Um, and so I always grew up knowing this, and it shaped me. It shapes who you are. It shapes your life, but it also gives a perspective on how precious life is and
Yes.
how important it is to make each day and appreciate each day. And I also keep her in my memories and all. I watch movies about her. I look like her. There are stories that people tell me. So I keep her alive through those memories, even though I only had her for 2 years in my life. The second thing that I want to say is that for people who are listening, and who may feel differently about faith, okay? Because everybody finds their way and finds what resonates with them, okay? And we appreciate you sharing what has meant for you. And for me, I'm not as faith or spiritual bound as some others might be, but I do feel that there are very important things in life, and that is to live life to the fullest and to appreciate everything and everyone who has been in your life, no matter how short, no matter what has happened to them in their lives. So I think people need to find their answer and find their comfort in whatever means something to them. But the takeaway here is that you celebrate her still, that people still celebrate her life, and that you keep her with you. And that's the important thing. It's not about her death, it's about her life. It's
And
about
this
how
is
she,
something, Wendy, that Lisa talks about all the time. In so many of our videos, she talks about celebrating life. But now let's look at it this way. When did her mom die? How many years ago was that, Lisa? How many years?
67 years ago.
67 years ago, and yet Lisa still finds ways in 67 years later to celebrate her mom and to do things to commit, have her presence, come to life in her life. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a
Thank
beautiful
you.
thing.
Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
It is a beautiful thing.
So it doesn't matter how long ago, it doesn't matter how many years you had somebody, they were still part of your life. And so they continue to add to your life, but your life goes on. We talked about the bowl thing, about the jar, and we talked about, I'll say it again for people who hadn't seen previous. So everybody thinks that you have this jar of life and you have this ball, and the ball represents grief. Okay. And so as time goes on, people think that here's your jar of life and your ball gets smaller, smaller, smaller. That's what happens in your life. That's not the way it happens. You have a jar and you have your ball, and your grief is still there and is always there, but your jar of life gets bigger and bigger and bigger, so that you still have a life. Grief will always be part of it. My husband will always be part of my life, even though I have a partner. My father, my mother, my new mom, they'll always be still part of my life because I hold them with me and because I celebrate them. But that jar of life for me has gotten bigger to add new things to my life. And that's what we talk about with grief.
Such a good way to explain it, right? I love that when you told us
I love
about
it
that.
too. Yes, I love it as well.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of new daughters, new sons, new daughters, I would say, the female relationship, but more than the male relationships. But there's one thing I have to say, and this is not against anyone who may hear the video, whether it's in my space or not, whether it's my family, Janelle's family, friends, but we'd be invited to things, and Lisa and Suzanne brought it up. I can't remember which one person in the video. We would go and not stay the length of time because we never wanted people to be bowed and, oh Lord, look at those people, never. So the only time we couldn't stay the length, the only time we couldn't leave from the celebration, whether it's a wedding or
Baptism, etc.
bridal shower, not bridal shower, any type of baby shower is when the wedding occurred on a yacht. We can't jump in the water. But guess what happens when the babies are born? No one would bring their babies by because I think they thought that they would catch the disease of their children.
Yeah.
And up
Yeah.
till now, they would invite me to the Zoom launch off of the revealing, and they would invite us to the Zoom because some of them occurred during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, because remember, she died in 2017. So a few years later, the pandemic hit, so people went on Zoom. And up till now, there's no one out of her group. Some have married. These are married people because she died at 29. And fast forward to 6 years at it. So it's women who are in the, childbearing age. And up till now, and this is not against any of the young women, in case they're looking at the video. I still love you, but I want you to understand that it's not a disease
Mhm.
that's catching. I would love to meet some of those babies, you know, and it's okay. You can't force that. But I do understand. I want you to know that my husband and I do understand. We have
We
to understand. We have to
understand,
put, yes,
we understand, but doing a forum like this one, we can really let the world know the truths behind the things that are happening. So relationships change, seasons change, people don't come in and out as they used to. Why? Because they don't want to say anything that will hurt you even more, right? They don't want to hurt you. They don't want to bring up her name because they're afraid you'll leave and cry. You know, they want you to be good and whole because they don't understand. Once you understand and have walked the walk, you get it and you know that it's not like that. When I
yeah,
go somewhere and there's family or friends that we haven't seen in a while, and somebody starts talking about Jim and tells a story about him because he was the loudest, funniest guy you've ever met in the world. I love that. I love that. I laugh and I'm
yes,
like, that's right. That's right. And constantly, I have two boys, a 25 and a 30-year-old. Constantly, I'm saying, Daddy wouldn't have liked that. Or Daddy would love, or Daddy would have said it the same exact way. And it does just come out and roll off my tongue. But I think that that's just so important, you
People
know?
don't understand, and people think they make it makes it worse. I went somewhere maybe 2 months after he had died. My son went with me, and it was really important. It was a family thing. Not one family member mentioned my husband's name. It hurt me to the core.
Wow.
Hurt me. They thought they were
That's
helping me and doing me a favor. It was horrible. It's almost like he didn't exist. That's the most horrible feeling in the world. Okay.
that's the
And the
exact point we're
catchy
talking
thing,
about.
right? And that catchy thing, after my father had a heart attack, all my mother's friends thought that their husbands were going to have heart attacks and wouldn't speak to her. It took so long to come back again. And these things, people need to understand this is not how you help people. This is not how you show them that you love them and care about them and that you're celebrating the people who are not here anymore. We need to educate people as much as possible. We
we
do.
do.
Now, Wendy, on that point, okay, can you think of anything else that jumps out to you? Because Lisa and I've talked about so many hundreds of things, but anything that jumps out to you right now
What else
that
jumps out at me beside?
yeah, that jumps out that says, I wish people, around me would have done this or that more
So
or
the first year, people, someone rang the bell, the first Christmas, so that's Christmas of 2017, brought a beautiful ornament that they had inscribed. I love that. So that
oh
year, I could not believe it. These were two young girls. One owned a daycare center, and the other one, young girl, graduated from college. They were both close to Janelle, living in Uniondale. That I still have it, a beautiful little ornament with her name, the date she was born, the date she died, and she'll be forever in my heart. What else? So that's was a little memento. And then
yes,
the family from the other group of people that died, the people that lost the three people, also brought me a special ornament with Janelle's pictures in there, Janelle's picture in there. That jumps out at me. Something so small, but
yes,
incredibly, it warmed my heart. And one thing I have to tell people that comes into the home, when it's to sit shiver, when it's to come into a home like my home, this is big, Lisa and Susan and the listening audience. The people would come to my home, my husband will be sitting in the living room like I do, and I do too, and I would be sitting there. They would bypass my husband and come right to me.
Mm.
I had to say, Mr. Simpson's right there, say hello to him. So it's not just only about the mother.
yeah,
It's not only the mother. It's also the spoke about the two brothers of the sibling that presented in reference to her losing her brothers during COVID. That is a video that's important because everyone thinks it's
yes,
the mother, or if I wasn't around, and because Lisa lost her mother, so they had no other choice but to go to the father, and or maybe the mother and ignored Lisa's father. Who knows? But in my case, this jumps out at me. I'm so grateful for the question.
yeah,
literally not just one person. And how do I know and started paying attention? Mr. Simpson told me. He told
Yeah.
me, even though he's not as chatty as I am, and I thank God for my chattiness only because I'm not shy. I know when I meet a person and they don't want you to be like me, I know how to bring it down. I know how to meet people. I know how to be quiet. I know how to shut my mouth. They would bypass the man. And my sons, forget about that. They didn't live here with me, but
Yeah.
So everybody needs to understand the
the
whole
siblings are
family.
ignored as well.
Yeah, the whole
They,
family is affected. And people need to understand and have compassion for everyone. And by the way, everybody grieves differently. You spoke about your
yes,
husband. I know he grieves differently than you.
different. And but we've always respected each other. He's telling me 2 days ago in the kitchen, and in my ear gate, he still works. He's saying to me, oh, I'll never miss a day, a Friday. I'm just saying it's a Friday. I am going every week to the cemetery. I don't. So I never put him down because of how he grieves. Because we had this big, incredible life, I don't find it necessary for me to, even though it's in the next town, it's right across the street from where Janelle and my boys went to the middle school. I don't put him down for that. So hopefully because I share and he tells me the way you share, I never share. And then he says to me, of some of the videos I did, some of the Zoom I did, I just came from Trinidad in September and did one of my, to me, best recording. He's like, do you get money from it? I'm not doing this for money. The book will make money and I'll be able to donate it like how you do it for the Pancreatic Association. And that's my choice. I grieve this way. That's why I also tell people the way I forgive, it's not for everybody. Look what Susan did. She forgave as a child. I wish I knew that type of forgiveness as a child. I would not have been so, that root of bitterness that I've had towards certain other things that happened in my
Yeah.
childhood
Yeah.
would have
Yeah, yeah.
been gone. So thank you for that. So that's about it that jumps out at me. I can't really think about anything else at this moment, but just life with Janelle. Please
Let
don't
me
hold on
ask
to.
you this. Let me
Yes,
ask
sure.
you
Go right
this
ahead.
now.
Yes,
First of
yes.
all, when you say 6 years, 6 years is nothing. 6 years is
Nothing.
like 1 week.
Yes.
Okay. It's still 9 years, and I'm having a hard time putting Christmas ornaments on my tree because it's something we did together, and I cry.
Yes.
So
But that's
it's
okay.
nothing 6 years. But let me ask you,
It's
have you
okay.
found any value in support groups? Do you still go? Can you recommend any resources to people? I have a friend, Adam, who's a director of COPE, and COPE is in Roslyn Harbor, beautiful old big home that it's on the lake there on the water. And he does, oh my gosh, such amazing things, for parents who have lost children. Um, so that's a
No,
resource
I
if you
I
go
I didn't
online.
have. Yes.
Yeah.
I thank you for that. Yes. Cope comes up in my phone, like it comes up because it's such a huge support group. But Lisa and I had one session with bereavement, so I started with Lisa. So I want to give Lisa a chance. But Susan, you're an incredible person, I have to tell you.
Yes, she is.
I don't know how
Oh,
come
that's
you
sweet
know
of you to say.
exactly like that. I'm not Jamaican, but the Jamaicans say, you, Susan. I thought Lisa knew where to itch, where to scratch, but you know where to itch, where to scratch, because it would be beautiful for me to join a support group for parents who lost children. That way I could, not bring it to closure, but thank you for letting me know about
But no, you
Adam.
have to, Wendy, you have to try these different pieces, okay? When I
Yes,
lost Jim, I didn't know where to go, who to turn to.
yes, yes,
I tried a support group. It was not for me. Okay. It made me sadder to rehash everybody else's stories coming from the emergency room stories. And it made me sadder. Um, so one-on-one probably would have been better for me. But instead, I jumped in my faith and I jumped in books. I'm a big reader.
yeah, me
And I
too.
found ways, right? I found ways to help myself. Whereas Lisa's the opposite of me.
I
Lisa
love support
found
groups. I love support
support
groups.
groups like crazy,
As soon as my
they help
father
her.
died, soon as my father died of a massive coronary, I'm looking around for some kind of support group. And I was probably the only one. I was the youngest in this group. Most of the people had lost spouses, some lost children, sisters, brothers. I was the only one who had lost a father. However, the grief is still the grief. And they helped me. First of all, it was wonderful being with people who were grieving, okay, for me. And it was wonderful to be able to do some of the exercise. It was a 3 month support group. It was incredible. And then when my husband died, I tried to find another support group, and I did. And for 8 weeks. So I'm big, but I have heard, just like Susan, I've heard that people feel more sad, or it doesn't fit them, it doesn't make them feel better. So it's a very personal thing to figure out
Whatever works for you. And I think one big thing that might work for you, Wendy, is your new business card that says Hugs for Janelle. And I think that that's only because, loss is so overwhelming. When it happened for me, I felt like this big crane, this big piece of machinery was just jamming me into the ground deeper and deeper. It's so hard and it's so heavy, and you don't want to stand up. And for you having gone through something that I don't know many people have gone through, honestly, in loss, this is such a unique piece of loss. For you
It
to
is.
have the spirit in you that you do,
Mhm.
I'm so impressed with your personality. Honestly, I could cry. And I just
Doesn't mean I'm perfect at all. I got a
because you have your days that you're crying all the
That's
time,
fine.
I'm
mouth on me.
sure.
Ooh.
But
That's fine.
just to have this spirit in you, I could see that you're a giver and you could be a helper to so many people with this spirit. And I think it's something that can help you along your journey as well.
Thank you.
Not many people can do what you do,
That's what
and
I've
say
been
what you're
told.
saying or
That's
feel
what
what
I've
you're
been
feeling.
told. That's what I've been told. But I just want to answer your question in reference to the support group.
Hmm.
I hope no one sues me, but I had I had I had chosen a support group and I wanted it to be of a spiritual background. Well, let me tell you, the person fell asleep in one of the sessions, and still I gave the funds for the session.
Nope.
Good
Oh,
point. Good point. You have to find what's
So
right for you.
to Susan's point, you have to find what's right for you. But I'm
yes.
so grateful
It might be
for Adam.
nature.
So if you could
It
get my information from, I have your information. I could email you. No, in
it
reference
might
to
be
cope, I
it
could
might
email.
cope, yeah. Might be nature. It might not be a support group. It might not be reading. So many people I'm finding out don't read, and that amazes me because I've learned and so much information and gained such value over the years through the books that I read. But it might be just being in nature. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe you always went to the park and maybe you did certain things
I
with
love
the
nature.
person you've lost. Yeah, and bring all
I
that
love
in.
nature.
Bring
I love
whatever you
nature.
can.
I've asked her to go back to Jamaica.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You did.
Yeah,
You did.
no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I just want you both to know that I'm encouraged too, because I only looked at the videos this morning because I couldn't find where Lisa had given me the information in reference to the website, to the site, to the
To YouTube.
videos. And incredibly enough, I put it exactly, I put a card and I found it and I was able to go on. And I want to say, I know that this grief journey has reciprocity, because when I listen to Susan and I listen to Lisa, I'm like, wow, look, I printed it out. It's clean. I printed it out on the little nuggets that I was getting from you. Lisa, Susan husband said, butterflies and rainbows and attitude and gratitude and
Mm.
just the things you guys were saying. I nicknamed Susan the doula. The doula mentioned dismissal and judgmentalism. And that's what I'm going through now. And one of my friends labeled me as being snippy because she didn't quite understand yesterday. It's not that I wanted to snip, but my cup has overflowed in my saucer now because of a father who's 86 and may have some slight dementia. And I could go on and my grandchildren, and I'm trying to balance, and I just retired, and
Yeah.
they're gonna label me a snippy. And so I just want to
It
say
doesn't
that
matter. Let
I think it was
anybody label you anyway.
Yeah.
And just remember that it doesn't matter if it's 6 years or 15 years.
thank
I've
you.
learned that I've had to become more gentle with myself. And
Ouch!
you
I
need to
said
do
that.
that with
Susan, I said
everything
that.
that you do
No
in your
more
days,
sandpaper. Thank
in,
you.
yes, in your days and your nights, in incorporating bubble baths and new shampoos and lotions and going and
Whatever,
getting that massage, whatever
whatever,
it is that floats your boat, be more gentle with
it's
yourself because you need to care for yourself.
right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this was
It's
really, really enlightening, but it was such a pleasure to have you here for us because we don't often touch onto such a hard topic. I thought that I thought it would go a lot differently, and it probably would have with 85% of the other people in the world that we would have interviewed. But you're in that top 10% or 15%. And this was really enlightening for us, and we're so thankful for you. So thankful. I hope this video goes viral, and I hope people want to talk to you and hug you and hold you and
me too. Me
Thank
too.
you. Wow. I
Should
thought
we?
that of your two the videos. I mean it. I'm like doula. So I call her the doula. I want to call her
Hmm?
my doula. And Lisa, I hugged Lisa when I saw her. I said, the universe got us together. And I thank you. I thank you. I'm
absolutely.
encouraged. So others are encouraged. Thank
That's
you
right.
both.
Very
Wendy,
good.
it,
Maybe
it
we can do lunch. You're here on Long Island. Maybe we could all get
he
together.
is.
That'd be nice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can't
Yeah.
thank you enough for sharing yourself and your heart and everything that happened in your life. It's huge, Wendy. It's huge.
Thank you.
And it's really encouraging for people to realize that you can get through something like this. Yeah. We thank you, Wendy. Should we ask, are you
Thank
interested in anybody contacting you or anything? Maybe an email or something like that? Would you like that or not?
I don't mind. That's
Okay.
what I'm here for, to help.
Okay. Why don't you give us your
Your
email
email
address?
address.
How about that?
You want me to put it in the chat?
Nope, just say it.
Nope.
And when people
Yeah.
watch the video, just say it. Go ahead.
My email address is kind of long, but it's
1 second. We'll do it again.
trinimahogany@gmail.com. I'll
Start.
say it again.
Yeah, spell it.
Trini
Spell it.
Mahogany, and I will, trinimahogany@gmail.com. I'm from the Twin Island. I'm an American citizen now, but I'm from the Twin Island of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's Trini, T as in Tom, R as in Randy, I as in ink, N as in Nancy, I as in ink, mahogany, all one word. M as in Mary, A as in apple, H as in honey, O as in Oscar, G as in good, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, Y as in yes to life at gmail.com. trinimahogany@gmail.com.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's excellent. Thank
And
you
we
for sharing that because you didn't have to. And I think it's important, if just somebody wants to reach out for a kind word that maybe has just gone through this yesterday, you know.
especially not to feel alone. The way
Yeah.
everything that you expressed and went through, for somebody else to know that they're not alone in what happened to them in their lives. So important, Wendy. So
Yeah.
grateful to you, truly. And you
Thank
come
you.
from Uniondale,
Thank you,
my
Wendy.
home, my home.
Yes, yes.
And as I grew up, my father's parents grew up, lived in Uniondale forever.
Wow.
So I was always there at the great parties and barbecues and
Yes,
events. Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
well, so
yes.
well.
Susan's a young, beautiful widow. Wow.
Oh,
Young and
okay.
pretty.
At least it's not a young, beautiful widow.
No,
She is, and she stop it. I mean, when you look at her, you wouldn't think widow. Do you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't.
Because, well,
I don't know.
she's not, well, she is a widow, but she has a partner. So life is in a little bit different place for her. This girl needs a date soon.
Oh,
Just be open, kiddo. We have
from
all
your
kinds of
mouth to
ideas
God's
about that.
ears. From
All
your
kinds of
I
mouth
ideas
know.
about
to
that.
God's ears.
Yes,
I'm open. I'm
yes,
open to it.
yes, yes. Anyway,
Well,
Wendy,
what a pleasure. What a pleasure. Thank you again for joining us, and hopefully we will meet in person again soon.
yes, we absolutely will do that. And Susan, what have you been up to? Anything interesting?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a few more interesting branches to my doula world
Okay.
that involve, I don't think I've told you about this yet, Lisa.
Go ahead.
Digital downloads.
Okay.
Some digital downloads in an Etsy shop. So I've been putting a few together on some really important topics that people want to know about.
Okay. That sounds great. Sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
And I have been doing some bereavement work.
yeah.
Um, this is who I am. So there have been a few people who've approached me and I've tried to help them as best I can. So
Yes. And it's a wonderful feeling. You know, I've recently had a couple clients as well. And it's a wonderful feeling to be able to help, you
yes,
know, and let somebody walk away feeling just a little bit better than they did before the conversation.
yes,
And if we can help in that way, that's what Lisa and I aim to do. If you like our videos, please like them and share them and save one and share it with a friend who may be going through one of the same topics that we talk about on the videos. That would be
yes,
great.
yes.
And Wendy, we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. All the best to you and happy holidays to you and your family.
Oh, so I can come off now.
So we're all going
Thank you.
to
We're
Happy
saying
holidays to
goodbye.
we're
everyone.
saying goodbye
So I can
now.
No, you
leave.
you stay on for a few minutes,
Yeah,
Wendy, but we're saying
Oh,
goodbye
okay.
to our audience.
yeah. Bye. Thank you
See you
again.